That's right. Otherwise, there's no reason for him to sneak onto the crime scene. Of course Mr. Godot knew about the plan. Huh? What did you say? Is it really possible that another person knew about the plan? Burnt letter. Because it has been opened before. The crime was actually planned over a year ago. Morgan Fay authored the plan for her daughter's future, and these instructions were hidden somewhere in Fay Manor for a year. However, by the time little Pearls found these instructions, they had already been unsealed. Unsealed? Yes, the killer had read these instructions long before Pearls even ever found them. That's how he knew the crime was to take place at the inner temple. And you still insist this crafty killer is me? You bet I do. But you just said that the instructions were hidden. That's right. Mr. Godot couldn't have known there were instructions where the instructions were hidden. If he really wanted to know, he had one great chance to find out. Yes, and what was that? During a visit. A visit? Morgan Fay told her daughter, Pearl, about where the instructions were hidden. During one of her visits to the detention center. That would be the only time for someone to have learned where they were hidden. Eavesdropping on a visit to a detention center. Yes, it could be arranged if you were someone with easy access in and out of there. Like, for example, a prosecutor such as Mr. Godot. Order! 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 Mr. Godot, you're under fire again! This murder could not have been carried out without prior knowledge, and you were the only one that could acquire this information before the murder. How many cups of coffee are we now? Humans are afraid of the dark, and yet, at the same time, we're fascinated and bewitched by it. Maybe that's why humans drink the darkness that is coffee. Sorry for always asking, but what does that mean? It means that there's reason for everything. According to your theory, the killer in this case eavesdropped on a conversation during a jail visit where he learned of the hidden plan for a crime. After discovering the plans, he hid at the inner temple and waited for the crime to occur. Then, he ultimately took a person's life. And he did all of that just to protect his witness? That's right. If you're accusing me of this crime, then I have to ask you, why would I do this? This girl is nothing but a stranger to me. I got no reason to go through that kind of trouble to protect her. I am what you see. I am certainly one of those the type to rescue a damsel in distress. The killer's behavior is certainly extreme for the lack of a better word. Even considering that the killer wanted to protect his witness life, his behavior is still a little too unnatural. However, you had a good reason, didn't you, Mr. Godot? An unshakable reason that forced you to protect this witness at all costs. I knew it. You figured it out, haven't you, Nick? Maya, I guess you were doing your best to cover for Godot. For the same reason, huh? Okay, try it. I'm all ears. Let's hear it. It's very simple. Maya Fey is a lot more than just a stranger to you. What's this? There's one person who lies at the very center of this whole story. One person that ties you and Maya Fey together inextricably. That is Mia Fey. There's a very good reason to why Mia Fey's life is so precious to you. After all, she is Mia Fey's only sister. Mia Fey? You once worked alongside her. That was when you were a defense attorney. Wait a second here. Mr. Godot is a defense attorney? With your honor's piercing intellect, you must have figured it out by now, brown-nosing. The real name of this man who calls himself Godot. His real name is Diego Armando. Isn't that right? The last time someone called me by that name was over 6 years ago. Diego Armando! That name rings a bell. It should, Your Honor. All of this is related to a single case. A case in which a convict named Terry Follis killed himself. Mia's Fey's first time in court. The tragic outcome left a deep wound in her heart. She knew that behind it all was a heartless, scheming demoness in disguise. But in the end, Mia couldn't tear off that disguise. However, there was one man who reached out to help her. Diego Armando, a senior defense attorney at the office where Mia worked. I was moved by her, the way she put all her faith in her clients, that pure, sweet heart of hers. That's why I could never forgive Dahlia Hawthorne. Me and I thoroughly investigated that fake kidnapping incident. And then one fateful day, Dahlia wanted to meet with me. It had been 6 months since the trial. We met in the courthouse cafeteria. Ah, I just remembered. 6 years ago, right here in this courthouse, you were poisoned. Even I didn't see it coming. Dahlia Hawthorne slipped some poison into my coffee. Some newspaper at the time called it a murder, but very little information about the case was ever released to the press. But you weren't dead at all. No official reports actually called it a murder. I was just in a deep, deep coma. I see. My body shut down and my life became nothing but a long, deep sleep. That woman's poison did a real number on my central nervous system. I lost my sight, and all of my hair turned white due to the damage it caused. That's terrible. Apparently it was a miracle that I ever regained consciousness. 5 years had passed as I drank that poison brew. Then, one morning, my eyes flew open from the smell of a doctor's cup of coffee. 5 years? You were asleep for 5 years? And the worst possible news was waiting for me. Mia Fey was dead. From the very moment I opened my eyes, I had already lost everything I thought I had. The woman I loved had been murdered, and the woman I loathed had been sentenced to death. The woman you loathed? The woman who spiked my scalding hot coffee, Dahlia Hawthorne. Ha! Good old Mia. She didn't let me down. She got her revenge before she checkered out. In the end, there wasn't anyone waiting for me when I woke up. That's so sad. For someone like me, for someone who had slept away their best days, there were only 2 reasons left to live. And it was for those 2 reasons I decided to become a prosecutor. If I may ask, what were your 2 reasons to live? The first was you, Wright. Huh? Me? If I hadn't drank that stupid poison, Mia Fey would never have died, much less the way she did. You were the only one who was there to protect her, but you let her die. That was all your fault. It wasn't like that. I wanted to see for myself what kind of man you really were. So, that's why I became a prosecutor. My other reason for living, why? She goes by the name of Mia Fey. Huh? You mean me? You were the only way I could make up for not saving, for the sin of not saving Mia. 1 year ago, when the Korean village incident was resolved, it was obvious that Morgan Fey was planning something. Whatever her evil plan was, I was determined to stop it. My role as a prosecutor put me in a perfect position to do something about her. That's how you overheard Pearl's visit with Morgan at the detention center. I knew that the time was drawing near. Since I knew the plan, I thought I could foil it. My goal was I was with the plan. I thought if I could do that, I could keep that girl from ever being caught up in it. That makes sense. If Pearl had known that the actual purpose of the plan was to kill Maya, she would never have helped out. Finally, the day of the plan was drawing near. I had contacted both of my accomplices. Accomplices? Iris of Hazakura Temple and Misty Faye. I especially needed the help of Iris. She was to take the fall and in my backup plan in the case we couldn't control Pearl Faye. But how did you contact my mother? She had been missing for almost 20 years. Officially, yes. What? What do you mean officially? You've heard all about it, haven't you? About the strong ties between the main family and the government. Now that you mention it, Bikini did say something to that effect. She said that the master of the Korean has a great authority. Even without her official position, Missy Faye still wielded great influence. When the police have been keeping an eye on her movements for all this time. That's how I was able to contact her. Again, because of my position as a prosecutor. So, my mother was cooperating with you. Don't ever forget, no matter how far away from you she was, she never stopped thinking about you. She was always... That's why I knew she would do anything to protect you. Ow. Ow. If you want to look at how strong her resolve is to protect you, look at her staff. Her staff? The one with the sword in it? The day the plan was to be carried out arrived soon enough. We met for the first time at Hazakura Temple. That's when your mother showed me her special staff. I realized it then, just how far she was willing to go. She was ready to use that sword to protect you from Morgan Fey if necessary. Yes, even if it meant paying the ultimate price. Mother... That night, the night of the crime, there was just one way to stop Morgan's evil plan. You mean Pearl's? Don't you? We had to make sure she didn't channel Dahlia Hawthorne. Don't question it, yeah. We thought we could prevent her from playing her part in Morgan's plan, but she never showed up. She He was worried and followed me to the inner temple. That was the thing we were most afraid of. And that's why Misty Faye had to do channeling herself. She channeled Dahlia Hawthorne into her own body. What? What do you mean? If she channeled the spirit first, then Pearls wouldn't be able to do it herself. As Master of Karain, Misty Faye's power was supreme. So, that's how it went down. She channeled Dahlia Hawthorne so that Pearl Faye wouldn't be able to. What? Is this true? My role in the plan was to make sure that no one was going to hurt Maya Faye. That's why I hid myself at the inner temple. Just in case you needed to be saved from Dahlia Hawthorne. Couldn't. Anyway, that is all I'm going to admit to, Wright. Huh? There's no doubt about it, you're a great defense attorney. But you're going to have to do the rest yourself. The background leading up to the incident has been laid bare. There's just one question remaining, Mr. Wright. Who killed the victim? There are only two possible suspects right now. Maya Faye. And I'm sad to say you, Mr. Gornot. Well, Wright. If you're the real deal, then finish this thing once and for all. Show us beyond a shadow of a doubt that you can finish this on your own. No, Nick, please don't. Maya, I heard the whole thing from my sister in the medical office. That's why I have to protect Mr. Godot. I can't do it. I can't testify against him. After all, he's the man who put his life on the line to protect Mia, and me too. Maya, I know that. Nick. Yet even so, it doesn't absolve him of his crime. Please, Maya, testify. Miss Faye, your testimony, please. This is the final testimony. Don't bother trying to hide anything, because I will know. I want to hear the truth from your own lips. I understand. I'm sure you're right. I'm ready now, Nick. All right, young lady. Tell us about the moments before you lost consciousness. What exactly happened at the time of the murder? Just before it happened, I think I saw some red lights, 3 of them. I thought I'd ask for help, but just then I was splattered with blood. She wasn't dead though, and she struck back at the enemy behind her. Suddenly, the red lights went out and the whole area was dark. Just at that moment, there was a horrible scream. Right after that, Dahlia collapsed and I lost consciousness. These red lights, I thought you said you didn't remember seeing them. I'm sorry. I thought I saw them, but they disappeared all of a sudden. Ha! Things break trite, even the best of theories. Who was it that stabbed Miss Faye? It looks like you still can't prove it. Maya's telling the truth this time, I know it. The rest is up to me. Well then, Mr. Wright, proceed with your final cross-examination of the witness. This is the one. I'm just going to blast through this because we have so little time. What do you mean by just at that moment? Do you mean the moment when the red lights went out? Yes, that's right. Then, the scream you heard, was it Dahlia Hawthorne? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it was a man's voice. What? So then, that scream came from the killer. That's gotta be it. I think Dahlia Hawthorne must have taken the blade and attacked the killer with it. And then the killer let out a scream of pain, huh? After that, the killer stole the blade back and delivered the final blow, I guess. Well, Mr. Wright, it seems to make sense to me. It sounds like a reasonable deduction, but I still kind of wonder. There is a contradiction. I'm sorry to say this, but that interpretation would create an enormous contradiction. That makes sense. After all, my deductions are almost certainly never correct. At least he knows. Remember the testimony she just gave before the killer let out a scream? Maya said she had already been splattered by the victim's blood. In other words, the blade in the stuff had already been plunged into the victim. Aha! Is that right? She couldn't have struck back with the sword that was already stuck in the body. The weapon that was caused the killer to let out a scream must have been something other than the staff. If you're so sure about that, then don't keep us waiting any longer, Wright. There's only one thing I can think of. That could have been used as a weapon here. If Dahlia Hawthorne had already been stabbed in the back by the staff, what could she have been used to strike back the killer? Naturally, the dagger the killer had brought to the scene of the crime. Oh, that's right. I'd forgotten about that. This dagger was found at the crime scene, stuck in a pine tree. Yes, the detective found this the morning and brought it to me. Dahlia Hawthorne struck back at the killer with this. She managed to wound him as well. Just because he let out a scream doesn't mean he was wounded. For all we know, the blood on the dagger could have come from the victim. Have you forgotten that the blood was already been tested? Since we learned it wasn't the victim's blood, it must be the killer's blood. The killer must have a wound somewhere on his body. So, you're saying the blood in this dagger belongs to the killer? Exactly. A DNA analysis of the blood would prove that it's beyond the shadow of a doubt. And yes, Mr. Godot, it would prove that it's your blood. Nice theory, Wright. Order! Order in the court! Is this the end? Have I done it? Even he won't be able to change the results of a scientific test. Ha! Let me ask you something, Wright. Let's just say it turned out that I was the killer. Do you really think I would be stupid enough to leave evidence like that? What? Just think for a second. This dagger was found this morning by a detective and brought to me. It was already blood on it, correct? But even so, I was the one who brought this dagger here to the courtroom. Yes, but what does that prove? Well, if I was really the killer here, I would have washed the blade off and planted another person's blood on it. That can't be. In any case, there's only one thing I can guarantee, Wright. That blood doesn't belong to me. Not a chance. What? In any event, it seems to be established the killer was wounded. Alright then, witness. Continue with your... Wait a minute! What's the problem? I know I probably shouldn't say this, but there's a big contradiction in Nick's explanation. Maya? This dagger, you said it wounded the killer? That's right. But, if Mr. Godot really had been cut with a dagger, His clothes would have been bloody or have rips in them, right? Maya? Maybe he just changed his clothes. That solved the contradiction pretty easily. What are you talking about? It's not that simple at all. Remember back to the day of the murder. Everyone else on the inner temple side got trapped there. Ah, that's right. And once the bridge was fixed, then the police headed for the inner temple. Mr. Gordon was already there waiting for them. He never got the chance to change his clothes. Ah. Order! Order in the court. Well, maybe he brought a spare change of clothes with them. But no one could have predicted the lightning strike that shut down the bridge. Why would anyone have brought a change of clothes? Did the judge just take a smart pills during the last recess? Well then, maybe the killer took off his clothes before he committed the murder. That way he couldn't get any blood on him. That's impossible, Wright. You know how cold it gets up there late at night. After a few minutes with no clothes on, you'll be frozen solid. Ha. So that's all you've got. I knew you weren't tough enough to finish this. Right now, if Mia Fey were here, she'd have closed the book on this case already. If Mia Fey were here? So come on, Wright. Can you do it or can you not? How about it, Mr. Wright? You've accused Mr. God of being a killer, but can you prove it? Have you even got one piece of evidence? The question isn't whether or not I can prove it. The fact is, I have to prove it. That's the only choice I have. I was told that it's one of the rules of being a lawyer. I can prove it. I'm going to bring your magnificent vengeance to fruition just as you want it. Ha! That's good. A fighter till a bitter end, Wright. Since there's just one piece of evidence that can prove your point, well, why don't we go for the unlimited penalty? Are you trying to pressure me, Mr. Godot? Because it doesn't matter to me. I got the one piece of evidence I need. Give me a break. You got nothing, Wright. So what do I do at a time like this? It's simple. I got to think outside the box and approach this from a different angle. Alright then, Mr. Wright. Let's hear what you've got. Yes, the best theme. The original theme. There's one thing I've demonstrated in the previous cross-examination. The killer was wounded. That was proven by the blood on his dagger. But they would decide it was impossible to have hidden such a wound. If he had been cut by the dagger, there should have been at least a bloodstain on his clothing. There is one place the killer could have hidden his wound. What did you say? Hidden? This is it. My last stand. I need to think about this from a different angle. I don't need to think about why there were no bloodstains on his clothes. I need to show how he hid the wound. It's the end of the line. The final stop, Wright. Let's hear what you've got. Where's this location this killer could have hid the wound? Ha! I don't know what you're talking about. And frankly, I don't need to know. What I do know is that you'll never be half the lawyer she was. And this. Isn't that right, Wright? What was that just now? Mia? It can't be. You're living on through him. Even as we speak, you're still hiding the wound. It's beneath your mask. During the fight, the red lights were given up by the killer suddenly disappeared. Seconds later, the killer let out a scream. That's right, your mask went flying off your face. Mr. Godot,